had the pleasure of speaking with Ralf Hutter of Kraftwerk as he called me from Dusseldorf, Germany, last June 19th, 1978. Kraftwerk formed out of a band called Organization. In 1972, Ralf and Florian broke away, and their main influences in their music have been John Cage, Terry Riley, and Karlheinz Stockhausen. I'm going to be listening to some of their latest material as well as some of their earlier works on the Industrial Wasteland.
This is Ralf Hutter from Kraftwerk in Germany, calling radio station WKSU, Kent, Ohio. I got your telephone number from YKSU radio station to do a telephone interview with you and try and communicate with your people in Kent, Ohio on the radio.
My name's Jeff Wooten, and glad you could call me today.
Very good.
Germany has produced more than its share of electronic bands, Ralph, and that includes like Cluster and SFF, more notably Tangerine Dream and Klaus Schulze, and of course, Kraftwerk. Is this because electronic music is a major part of the German rock scene?
Yes, first of all, it's Germany has no rock scene. So, rock is an Anglo-American music style, which is socially rooted in Anglo-American society. We living in Germany, and especially today in Kraftwerk, we are all from the post-war generation. We lived in a different cultural situation and environment, and we tried with our music to reflect our living environment where we are today. So really, Germany has given birth to this new electronic music, I think, with groups like Kraftwerk, Tangerine Dream, and Klaus Schulze.
You mean electronic music is the popular music of Germany?
Yes, electronic music in Germany is very popular, and it's a whole new electronic scene. We have rather electronic scene in Germany, like you have rock scene in America, or rhythm and blues scene, and we get many letters from very young people also asking about electronic things, and now many people are setting up their electronic home sound things with their little tape recorders and oscillators, and it's really a whole living thing now, electronic music in Germany, where before people would in the 60s, they would maybe start and play the piano or play the guitar. Now they start directly with electronic sounds. They play small synthesizers and oscillators and really filters.
Kraftwerk is really the only band that's made an impressive dent in the U.S. popular music scene. Is Kraftwerk trying to make popular music electronic?
Well, we are mainly not thinking of ourselves so much as music people, but rather we set up our own electronic studio in 1970, Klinklang Studio in Düsseldorf on the Rhine, and there we work on a day-to-day basis with our electronic machines, and we think more of like we are scientists working in acoustic laboratory.
are quite a bit more subtle than your latest one. In particular, the Ralph and Florian release is quite soothing, but the tempo is generally increased to such a point that, like Karl Bartos and Wolfgang Fleur's work with electronic percussion, has become an overriding factor in your man-machine release. The music sounds quite mechanical. Is this a general progression in your sound, or are you trying to make a social comment?
Yeah. It's, when we started in 1970, our first concern was to really create some kind of total sound. This was the first step, and when we put out the first album, 1970, we weren't doing vocals yet at that time, but mainly creating some kind of pure electronic sound as the basis, and from then on it was different steps of development to go from one album to the next album. And then we did one in 71, and then in 73, Ralph and Florian album, 74, Autobahn, for the first time with longer vocals, and then 75, Radioactivity, 76, 77, Trans-Europe Express, and now 78, The Man Machine, which is kind of the some kind of identity thing of Kraftwerk, which really brings the ideas we had all the time about ourselves being connected with the machines, more outspoken.
So you are trying to make a social comment of the mechanized society in your music?
Yes. Kraftwerk is the industrial electronic music group from really industrial post-war Germany. We live in the biggest industrial area in Europe, the Rhine-Ruhr region, where there's about one city growing into the next city for 100 miles. You just go out of Düsseldorf, and then on the other side of the road it says, now you're entering Duisburg. So it's some kind of endless industrial city, and this is really our environment, and this is the place where we started our music and where we started doing our first performances in art centers and students clubs. And I think we reflect socially this, our living environment, and the sounds of the machines surrounding us, and we feel like we are kind of medium being of this industrial age, because we think in order to say something reflecting today, you cannot say it with the, in order to do something with the software today, you cannot use the hardware of the 19th century or the Middle Ages, such as guitar, drums, etc. In order to make some valid statement about today's society, you have to use today's technological media, such as telephone, radio, synthesizers, microphones, tape recorders, whatever is available today to the artist.
Well, the capabilities of the synthesizer are said to be unlimited, but like the latest Tangerine Dream release features a move back to the traditional drum kit and flutes and bass. But if anything, Kraftwerk has moved in the opposite direction, like completely electronic.
Yes.
Do you feel that eventually all instruments will be electronic?
Well, we are only using electronic instruments. Back in the early 70s, when we were using amplified drums, we always found that our drummers, they were hitting very hard during a concert, starting to sweat, and their fingers were getting blisters, and they were even spilling some blood. So we got very much upset about this situation because myself and Florian, we were always playing these synthesizers, and then we invented with some engineers who work with us some electronic drum kits, which we also have patented. And now for 5-6 years, the drummers playing with Kraftwerk, they don't sweat no more. They are on the same electronic level, because we find in most groups the drummers, they're doing some kind of wood chopping job, and we are we have industrialized percussion, because today's society is very percussive with all the machines, repetitive rhythms, and we thought to include this in our music.
the air for you and me.
When you're performing, does the synthesizer become a natural extension of yourself, or do you react simultaneously with the instrument?
Well, the ideal state is really to be on the same level. That's why we call ourselves the man-machine, which means machines are not subservient to us, and we are not the servants of the machine, but it's some kind of equal relationship, or you might even say friendship, between men and machines, and not opposed. So really, we get some really sensitive exchange with our musical machines.
That's a very interesting concept. Most performers like to say that they have control over their instrument.
Yes, we control the machines, and the machines control us. It's really some exchange, like equal partners. That's what the word man-machine stands for.
During the release of Autobahn, you toured the States, and since then you've had two very well-received records in the States, and Man Machine is showing a lot of promise as well. There's another U.S. tour in the works.
Yes, we are. In fact, at the moment we are working back here in Düsseldorf on our studio and recording and working, and it's very possible that we do another European tour in late summer or autumn, and at that time we are hoping that we can come over back to the United States and play more concerts there. Because now we have, since 1975, it's 3 years, but we have, I think, made some very important developments for us, where we have created some new kind of performance style, where in the past new ballet companies in Germany, they have been doing something with our music, and this inspired us not to just dance or move your body to existing music, but we have now composed some kind of electronic body music, because electronic music, basically like Tangerine Dream, has been mainly connected with brain music, where you sit back in your armchair and put on headphones and fly off into space, some kind of cosmical consciousness type of music, where we were always interested with Kraftwerk in including society and really environmental music, earth music, city music, and now we have done something which we call electronic body music, where we have invented some instruments where you can stimulate electronic sounds with the movements of your body by moving up your arms and legs and your whole body. We stimulate some electronic sounds, and when we will do performance, we have some special kind of electronic ballet which we do in ourselves, where we create music through dancing.
Yeah, I read something about that a long time ago. It's like a costume, right?
Yeah.
It's wired up, and as your body moves, it produces different sounds.
Yeah.
Did you design that device yourself, or?
Yeah, we have been doing something with light beams. It operates with light beams, and by moving, we used this for the first time when we made a European concert tour 2 years ago, but it was only the first model we designed, so now we have something more developed, and we will be doing this in our concerts. And we can also play, because we're using some of our music, we have invented some automatic music machines, and they can play the organized part of the music, so we don't have to concentrate on hitting the same notes in every town we play, like most of the groups when they play. They have to concentrate if they get the songs right, etc. We have some machines who can do that type of work, and we can fully concentrate on spontaneous things, and we do a lot of improvising, like when we play, and also the time factor. Concerts, sometimes they are very much longer or shorter, depending on the vibration where we actually perform.
Along those lines, do your records reflect Kraftwerk accurately, or is there more to your sound that's reserved for just concerts?
Yes, I think the records are, to us, like films. We call our music acoustical films. And actually, when we perform in concert, there's the volume factor and also the reverb and the echo of the hall where we play, because this and the volume of the music really is only to be there when we perform live, and the presence of people in a room changes the music.
Fahren auf der Autobahn, fahren auf der Autobahn. Wir fahren auf der Autobahn, fahren auf der Autobahn. Radio an, aus dem Lautsprecher klingt es dann.
control do you have over your recorded material?
Well, we are have always been producing our own records, writing our own compositions, and also the words. We have established since 1970 our studio. First we started out with some old cassette recorders and some old speaker cabinets, and from there over the years we have been building from there. We call our studio also some kind of electronic garden, where we have some kind of biological biofeedback with the machines, and through the time they have been growing and getting more and more complex and really growing different stages. And we have, since we started out, have complete control over all our material. In Germany we have our own record label, Klinkern Records. And this is very important politically. We are completely anarchic and have total control over what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But we started out very basic, and I think it's just if you don't let yourself be confused over the mechanisms of today's society, then you can have some really very creative aspects to your life. And this was really what we set out to do, to live out our fantasies, at least try and get those things communicated with other people.
So you definitely approach your music with an artistic rather than a commercial standpoint.
Yes, it's really more the communicative aspect that we are interested in, and the realization of ideas. And I think when you try and work with those things, then you really get response from other people.
Mm-hmm. What kind of exposure are you getting in Europe through broadcasts or concerts?
Yes. But Europe is a different media system than in America.
Right.
We don't have commercial radio in Germany. It is state radio in Germany, France. And the programs here, they cover all aspects of, it's not like in America where one station might play a special type of music, but here they have children's hour in the early afternoon, sports in the late afternoon, news programs, regional programs, information, spoken programs, drama, and music mainly comes later in the evening, and also electronic music. When we were very young here in Cologne, near Düsseldorf, was the first electronic music studio in the world at the West German radio, Westdeutscher Rundfunk. And they were always doing midnight shows. So really, in Europe, or especially Germany, music comes mainly late at night. Maybe this factor has made Kraftwerk music also some kind of late night music, night music.
Well, that's very similar to what we're doing here, because this is a public radio station, very similar to yours, I guess, or to Germany's radio. And we have a varied format, and late at night, that's where we get into the electronic music as well.
Very good.
And there's a very strong audience out here for it. Well, Ralph, that's about all the questions I really have. If there's anything you'd like to add, boy, just go right ahead. You're a very interesting person to talk to.
I think for me it's very hard to think of something, because when you live with all those things on a daily basis, it kind of gets very normal, and you forget to keep any kind of distance from.
all this experimentation you've been doing with biofeedback and all that, and light beams, just all kinds of experimentation going on where you are.
Yeah. We always try out, in fact, new things, and sometimes really the machines, they surprise us with really the sounds we expect the sounds to be a certain way, and then when we make those experiments or something, then they turn out different. And it's always the question for us to open up our own ears, to be open to those new sounds, and really listen to the machines sometimes and get inspired from this side.
Okay, Ralph. Well, thank you so much for calling us all the way from Germany. What city are you in?
I'm in Düsseldorf, in Germany, on the Rhine.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, that's really great. This has got to be the longest interview we've ever done here, and long distance as well. Thank you so much for calling us this
Yes,
morning.
thank you for talking to you, and say hello and auf Wiedersehen to all your people in Ohio.
Auf Wiedersehen, Ralph.
Auf Wiedersehen.